Well, welcome. Tonight we're going to go over a lot of the fall sports and start looking forward to winter and maybe get a little preview of what's coming up in the spring. The lot's been going on, a lot we can be proud of, not just in the achievements of our athletes on the field, but the fact that they're getting the grades and they're setting themselves up to go to colleges, good colleges, and really have, I don't know how to put this without making Pete's head too big, but have learned from the master how important it is to have the right attitude, to have the right in-depth knowledge of not only your sport, but how you work as a team. So a lot to feel proud of in Milford. Pete, why don't we start with an introduction?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I appreciate it, Al. I love coming on with you. I love being able to chat sort of, with the Milford community. Peter Boucher, this is my 8th or 9th year, Milford High School and Stacy Middle School athletic director. And I'm happy and proud to continue to be working in what I consider to be the truest sport town in New England, maybe the country. I don't know. But this is a real sports town. No question about it. And we do put a major focus on academics, like you said, and that goes way back to the beginning when they built this school. We're just trying to perpetuate the great legacy and the expectations, that goes back to, we talk about past, present, and future. We're trying to set the table for the folks that come after us, because there are a lot of folks, including yourself, that set the table for us. And we just want to wear the uniform with pride and do a great job for the town.
Now, it's amazing because when you think of high school and college sports, New England just doesn't rate up there with other parts of the country. I remember when I had a young lady living with us who was playing soccer in Boston for the Breakers, and we took her to a football game. And she just kind of looked and said, "Where is everybody?" Now, she was from Odessa Permian.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So, they did a little TV show about that area called
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights.
Yes. Yes.
And I did ask her, I said, "Now, is any of that stuff real?" And
It's
she goes,
true, huh?
"Oh, yeah." She said, "The stores do close on Friday night because
Yeah.
everybody is at the game." And I said, "Well, how many people do you get at a game?" She goes, 23, 25,000
Sweet. Wow. It's
for a high
just,
school game.
yeah. Yep. It's, I can attest to that. I was in Florida for 4 years, and Manatee County, where we lived, Manatee High School was playing somebody from Georgia, and they were both ranked in the top 10. So my wife and I, we didn't have children at the time. Real quick story. We go to the game, and as we're walking around and trying to find seats, I'm seeing the players warmed up, and I just looked at her and I said, "We're in the wrong place." She goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "This is a college game. Look at these guys. They're huge. They're so every single young man out there was, 260, 280. They're flying." And it was two high school teams. And wow, what a game that was that night. Unbelievable. It is different around the country for sure. I don't know if anybody's as crazy about sports as we are, though, in New England to a certain degree. I know there are certain places like that, Texas, Florida, that go crazy, but we're pretty rabid up here too, huh?
Well, I take pride in the fact that you're putting out athletes who are eligible for college and ready for college.
Yeah, for sure.
I
You know,
mean,
that's
go ahead.
that's something you've always noticed where it would be very difficult to catch me using the term athlete. As a former principal, as an educator for 20 years before I, really went full time into athletics. Student athlete is the only term we use, because your day job, your real job, is to be a really good student. Well, you've heard me say this before. You have to perform during the day if you want to perform in the afternoon or evening, right? You got to be a really good student, or we're not going to let you suit up. And that's just the way it goes. And a lot of our head coaches really, really, they take that seriously. It's ingrained in them. As a lot of them are former Scarlet Hawks. And, in this day and age, you've got to perform during the day if you want to help us and perform in the afternoon. It's that simple.
Well, I mean, a lot of times I've heard you talk to the kids about the fact that when they put on that uniform
Yeah.
or even the shirt, because you hear too much about while they're wearing the uniform on the field, they believe they should behave this way.
Yes.
But then they forget that when they're wearing the MHS Hawk on a T-shirt and they're out at night, it's still a reflection on Milford.
No, that's a really good point. And we have 3 core values, and the third core value is Scarlet Hawk 24/7. And, you know, I'll show I have I got to go the other way, but I do have my Scarlet Hawk on, even though I'm, you know,
There it is.
right. You know, but this is what we say to the kids, even if you're not wearing something red and white, even if you're not wearing the Scarlet Hawk or something, you know, with the Milford M or the Scarlet, you are wearing it, you know. People recognize you, student athletes all over the country, but certainly in Massachusetts and Milford in the Hockomock League, people know who you are, and you have to conduct yourself accordingly. So I say to them, look, if you're out at the movies in Bellingham, if you're around town, having dinner, if you go anywhere, you go down the Cape for vacation or whatever, I guarantee you somebody's going to recognize you. I always tell the story of, and I won't tell the whole story, but you know, we went to vacation to Key West. I didn't have anything on with Milford. And we went into a restaurant and somebody said, "Hey, aren't you the athletic director?" Yeah, that's me. Yep. Very proud of that. But, you know, you have to behave yourself all the time. You can't let it down for 1 second. And I think our kids, you know, are trying to live up to that Milford legacy. We're very proud of that.
Well, I think the whole set of goals you instill in the academy and all does take hold.
No, I agree. I think our captains, you know, like I said, we have those 3 core values. You know, the championship expectations. We practice, plan, and play to win every game, and we know that we're not going to win every game, but we're practicing, we're planning, and we're playing to win, and that's a good life skill, right? You know, you're competing for jobs, you're competing for just about everything, and we teach our kids to compete respectfully. You know, and number 2 is championship sportsmanship, right? We win and lose with dignity. I always say to the kids, 45 to 60 seconds, once the game, meet, or match is concluded, nobody should know if you won or lost. You can celebrate, right, if you win, and you can be sad if you lost. But within a minute, it's time to get down to business, clean up, and get ready for tomorrow's practice or game. You know, and that's the way we try to conduct ourselves. And I appreciate you recognizing that, because we work really hard over the summer with our captains, and then we talk intermittently throughout the season. But it's important for us that we conduct ourselves accordingly, win or lose, whether we're out to dinner, whether we're in the cafeteria at lunch. You know, we want to behave, and we want people to be proud of us.
Well, I heard something the other day. What was it? Practice hard to win easy.
Yeah, that's on. Yeah, you don't miss anything. So that is on all of our Leadership Academy shirts on the back. What we have said, you know, we talk about competing. We spend 3 days together, you know, so you're talking about 24 hours, right? We're looking at 7 or 8 hours a day for those 3 days. And, you know, we have a lot of help. Andrew Manini, Lou Colabello, you know, presents, and, you know, Consigli. There's so many people that support us. But yeah, so one of the things that I really try to instill, into the captains and into all of our teams, you know, whether it's middle school, freshman, JV, or varsity, is you don't win games on game day, right? You win games, meets, and matches in practice, weeks, days, months, sometimes years in advance. Everybody loves to compete on game day. Nobody really has a hard time getting fired up on game day, but it's the folks that have prepared and practiced and planned to be successful for that game, you know, hours and hours in advance. I love that saying. It's on every shirt that we can possibly put it on. Practice hard to win easy.
So now, football did okay this year, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody in town knows that, and we are just so proud of our guys, of our Gridiron Club, our coaches. Coach Dale has just come in and reset the table, and I hope I can say this, you know, after being in town almost a decade. I think he's brought us back to old school Milford football. You know, our kids are tough. Our kids work hard. They know their assignments. Our line is big. Our line is fast. Our line is strong. We've got skilled kids. And what I really, really like is that our kids conduct themselves accordingly. Our coaches conduct themselves accordingly. But man, when that whistle blows and the ball is kicked, we're coming at you. We're coming at you. You know, we beat Natick twice this year. I don't know any other team that can really say they've done that twice. We played them in the regular season, then we landed them in the playoffs. You know, we beat Mansfield this year, which really rounds out the table. That means we've beat every single team in the Hockomock League. We've only been in the league about a decade now, about 12 years. And to be able to say that, that's a big deal. These are big programs. You know, we went to the semifinals of Division II, right? We were a game away from the Super Bowl, and this group has only been together. People say 2 years, Al. We're talking 2 seasons. They played in the spring, right? And then boom, they had the summer to get ready, and now it's the fall. So it really hasn't been 2 years. It's been 2 seasons within 3 seasons, you know. So it hasn't been a lot of time to really assimilate and pick up, you know, Coach Dale's offense and defense. But the kids did it. They're smart. You know, you talk about student athletes. Anybody who's had to study a football playbook, you have to know what you're doing every single play at multiple positions. And these kids, Coach Dale and Coach Dana, are phenomenal football teachers. You know, I watch practice, they instruct, but yeah, it's been fun to watch. And I'm sure I'm gonna probably break your lead here, but I know you were going there. Marco Montero, right? He didn't play football in middle school. He didn't play football in elementary school. He started as a freshman, Marco Montero, who didn't speak English in elementary school, learned in middle school, right? Full ride to Brown University. We just did his signing almost 2 weeks ago. Coach Dale put it together, and we got together. Coach, you know, Principal Otland and myself supported, and Lori Pitt just put together a really nice ceremony for him because we thought this was really, really special. You're talking about a young man who couldn't speak English 6 or 7 years ago, right? Had no aspirations of going to college until he started playing football, and Coach Dale said to him, "You can do more. You can be more." And just him to have that brown sweatshirt on. Honest to God, Coach Dale got a little emotional. I got a little emotional. Principal Otland got a little emotional. That's why we do what we do, right? To open doors for kids. And he is such a nice young man until he puts the helmet on, and then he's a grizzly bear, right? He's just unbelievable on the football field. But yeah, football had a great season. They really went at it, and we're excited for next year too.
I mean, one game from the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
I don't know how anybody could complain, and I don't think anybody is. We're really excited about where Coach Dale has taken us, where the guys are taking us. You know, I think Tyler Lane, who is just an amazing young man like Marco, just a nice, kind, gentleman. I think I don't want to, you know, put any pressure here. I think he's going to sign with Bentley, which, you know, you got to have the grades if you're going to Bentley, and he's got the football acumen. He's got the academic acumen, and he has the social emotional. He's just a great young man, and we're going to be excited to see where and there'll be more guys. It's just, you know, we'll sign him when we can sign him, and then we do a big celebration in April. But yeah, it was fun to watch that team this year.
When you get that close to the final game, and you can turn around and say, "Hey, by the way,
yeah,
we're getting our students into colleges," that, I mean, let's face it, Brown isn't your schleppiest school.
No. You're
talking about an Ivy League school that would cost you $300,000 to go.
Right. And a young man who didn't ever didn't even dream about going to college 4 years ago, is now going to receive one of the best educations in the world, you know, because his coaches and his teachers and you know, everybody involved just said, "You got this, man. You can do this." And it's going to change his life. I think that's what's so earth shattering for me. His whole world is going to change because of the sport that he loves, and he works hard, but he works hard in the classroom too. Because if he didn't have the grades, they wouldn't take him. You know that, right? These types of schools don't do that. You've got to have the academic acumen, or you're not going to go anywhere. You're just not going to.
They don't need to. Any of the Ivy League schools or business school like Bentley, I know up at Holy Cross, they get 9 applicants for every opening.
Wow. I mean, think about that.
You know, it was really surprising when I heard that we accepted 700. Well, we have a class of 700 people, and 9 kids applied.
Yeah, so you're talking over 6,000 people
Yes,
for 700 seats, right? Okay, so they don't
6,400
need
seats.
people. They don't need
No.
people. They want the best, and they're able to grab the best, which is awesome that we are in those conversations and we're grabbing those seats, right?
And then my hat's off to the coaches, because not only do they have kids who are making it academically, but they're also making it on the field in a way that the coaches at Brown and other schools want them on their team.
Yes, absolutely. And I can tell you from sharing an office right next to Dale's, we'll probably be, if we're not in double digits, we'll be, close to double digits or right over that just from this year's seniors. We had 13 kids last year in football that went and played football in the
Wow.
NCAA, Division I, Division II, Division III. And I know the folks in Milford, are intelligent observers. They know that like D2 and D3, there really isn't there's not a differentiation anymore. There was 20 years ago. D3 football, you got to be really, really skilled to play D3 football. A lot of D3 teams played D2 teams and beat them. So, we're excited to be, like you said, it's just great to be sending kids to compete in the NCAA.
Not that I want to downplay the 13 kids that went from Coach Dale's program to play football. But there's how many on a team? 80?
Yeah.
So you turn around and say there's 60 plus kids who learned life skills. They may not apply them on the field anymore after high school.
Right.
But when they get to college and, maybe I don't want to work as hard, they'll have that voice
Yes.
in their ears, never give up, never stop trying.
No, that's a good point. And what's really interesting? This goes back years and years and years, not just, in my time here, but the typical matriculation of athletes, right? Student athletes to the NCAA is 3%, 4% if you're really, really doing a good job. We averaged anywhere from 10 to 12% a year. Like that's ridiculous in a very, very positive way. We're talking all sports. You're talking cheer, soccer, football, track, you name it, right? Pick any sport you want, basketball, hockey. We're sitting at double-digit percentages in Milford of kids that go on to compete in the NCAA. It's a good recipe.
A little over a decade ago, there was a big discussion about this whole Hockomock League. We were doing real well in the league we were in.
Yep.
And the question came up, why are we moving up? Because the Hockomock League, again, it's not the littlest, tiniest, easiest league in the area. Everybody was saying, wait a minute, you're going from middle to the big boys.
Yeah, for sure.
Will Milford be able to compete? And what are the benefits to moving up to the Hockomock League from where we were? 10 years later, 12 years later, was it a good decision?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wasn't here yet when I think the Milford was in the Hockomock League their third year when the AD position opened up. And I was very excited to apply. I was very excited that I was selected. From my perspective, I really think it depends on how you look at it. It is probably comprehensive, the Premier League in New England. I think, and people ask why. What do you mean by that? Well, most leagues, like you can look at any league you want, and they're all good. They're all good, right? We're in District District 7 with the Bay State and the Tri-Valley. Those are great leagues, right? Those are great leagues. You take their top 3 and you put the Hockomock top 3, it's going to be an absolute war, okay? Maybe the Hawk wins, maybe the Tri-Valley, maybe Bay State. It depends on the sport, and it depends on the year. The difference with the Hockomock League, and again, I competed in this league. I wrestled, I ran track, I played baseball. Wasn't great at all of them, but I competed. I won a couple of championships as an athlete, and I coached for a long time. And I was fortunate enough to have some really good teams and win some Hockomock championships and some state championships. So I know how to compete. I would like to say that. The difference in the Hockomock League is you have 12 teams, right? In other leagues, when you get to the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th team, typically, I'm not saying this about any specific league. I'm just saying you typically will, you have a better chance at winning. Let's put it that way. Your odds and your percentages increase as far as maybe getting a W. Okay. In this league, that doesn't happen. You can play the 10th or the 11th, pick any sport you want: soccer, basketball, football, lacrosse, wrestling, pick any, golf, doesn't matter. When you take on the 9th, 10th, the 11th, and sometimes the 12th team, I call it the NFL of high school sports. It's any given game. Forget about any given Sunday. So this is a highly competitive league, you know. I think
And
the
well
reason.
respected.
Oh, well, yeah. And I will tell you this too. I have had multiple collegiate athletic directors in New England say to me, I can't name them because I don't want to get in trouble, but they have said to me, if we have a student athlete from the Hockomock League applied to our school and they want to play, we pull their application and we make sure that it gets a second look. Guaranteed. Because we know that if a student athlete in the Hockomock League comes from the 5th or 6th place team, that doesn't decrease their viability at our school. It might from other places, other leagues maybe, but you could be like 7th place in the league and still be a highly competitive athlete, student athlete, right? And they know that. And I promise you, I've had almost half a dozen collegiate athletic directors say to me, hey, listen, we don't care how your team really did. Hey, it's great if they won the championship. It's great if they got 2nd or 3rd. We're going to look at if it's 7th, 8th, or 9th in your league. So that, you know, I think that is that's a positive, right? That's, you know, certainly a positive. I know there's probably a lot of chatter about, you know, leagues and whatnot. I mean, I know we're in this league right now, and what I tell our coaches and our kids is, whatever league we're in, we're going to compete, right? We didn't come here to get 2nd place. We didn't come here to get 3rd. You know, we're competing for 1st place. And if we don't get 1st place, then you better set your sights on 2nd. And that's a life skill. But, you know, I will say this, it's a highly competitive league, and we are definitely working hard to be competitive in this league.
So now we've played for the year. Now we have a year to get ready for next year.
Yes, with our fall sports, yes, yep. I can tell you there's some other championships. You know, boys soccer, sit down for anybody who's watching, 4th league championship in a row. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in many leagues, right? You have your dominant teams. This league is as brutal as any, you know, for boys soccer, anywhere you go in New England. We had a slow start, right? Anybody that watched us would know that we struggled in the first 2, 3, 4 games. I think we had to figure out who we were. But, you know, Coach Pinto, you know, really worked with the guys. Our guys are tough. Our boys are just, they're iron, right? They're iron. They compete. Soccer is their lives. Most of them, it's what they get up in the morning for. They get good grades so they can play soccer. And I'm okay with that, right? Whatever encourages them to get good grades, I'm okay with. You know, these guys got on a roll. It came down to the last 2 games of the season to win the championship, and they won both. They would have tied for the championship if they didn't win the last 2 or tied. But you know what? They knew what they practiced hard to win easy, right? They knew what they had to do. They put their big boy cleats on and they went out and got the job done. We got into the tournament again, and yeah, it was exciting, you know.
No, it's amazing because when I think back, when I was a kid in Milford, to play soccer, there was one team, the Portuguese club. And if you weren't born playing soccer, you ain't making that team.
Yeah, right.
We had to go to Franklin.
Yeah.
To find a team that we could make. Of course, my cousin went and he immediately made it. But, you know, for somebody like me that was learning soccer, there was no chance of playing in Milford.
No, it's just the skill level's too high. It is still that way. You know, we continually just are fortunate to churn out championship caliber teams. And you know what? That's a credit to the town. It's a credit to the community. You know, the boys come in every year now. They know targets on your back. It's like the Patriots, right? Everybody that plays you, it's their Super Bowl. It's their
Right.
championship game. And, you might play the 7th or 8th team in the league, but,
Yeah, but they
there are
want to knock off. It's like when the
Yep.
Patriots were at 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to let them get a 6th.
No. Nope. It's just everybody brings their best game when they're playing you, and you've just got to be, spot on every single afternoon or evening. And I give those guys and the coaches so much credit. They've put together a great organization, and we're hoping it continues. We just are.
How'd the girls do?
Yeah, girls did well. They competed. I have to be honest, we had some injuries intermittently. I never like to make excuses. I'm looking forward to them being healthy next year. But you know what? They competed. They played Franklin and KP so tough that KP was this otherworldly team, and I think it was the 4th, 5th game of the season. We were the first team to put a goal on them. Right, Danny Atherton sinks it in the back of the net. The girls are tough. It's just, I think what we need to do is we need to put together just a full season where we're healthy, and whether it's someone having the flu. Danny got hurt and had a really terrible knee injury. Thank goodness she didn't need surgery. Brooke was hurt for a little while. Ashlyn played hurt probably a lot longer than she should, but she's she's just an iron. Scarlett Hawk, bless you. And we got a great group of gals. Lou Colabello, fantastic coach. I'm looking forward to what they do next year because we had a good group of JV kids. We played a lot of freshmen. I think we started 4 or 5 freshmen, right? So every game was sort of hey, let's see what we can become. Let's see who we are and what we can become. And I thought they brought it. They brought it to the table,
Yeah, but that's a tribute to Colabello's coaching.
Yeah.
When you got half your team freshmen.
Yep.
I mean, you've coached all different levels.
Yes.
Freshmen are just learning what life is.
I've always said, and we've all been fortunate to have great freshmen or promising freshmen. I would always tell my teams quietly, we're not putting any pressure on the freshmen. This kid scores, if this kid wins, if this kid, this Frosh has a good night, that's awesome. Don't expect it. Because, in this type of environment, right, in any league where you're playing at such a high caliber, you can't put a lot of pressure on the freshmen. It's asking a lot. So,
I mean, every once in a while you get a stellar freshman.
Yes. You get someone like Danny that comes in.
Yeah.
Yep.
He comes in, he's one of the 11. But to have 4 or 5 of the 11.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good point. And, another point with the girls soccer, I think we played 4 goalies this year. Injuries and sickness. And you know what? I give the girls credit. Some gals that hadn't played goalie since like 6th or 7th grade agreed to step in. No joke, right? It's just, I love the mentality of that team. They didn't really worry about their record. What they were concerned about was the uniforms they were playing across that afternoon or evening. And I just admire the way they attacked the season. I really do. I enjoyed watching them.
It's a lot to say when you're not taking championships down.
Yeah.
You still get the support of everybody involved.
Absolutely. You got to stay focused. And, we had some other teams too. Girls volleyball made the playoffs, They just continue to do an excellent job. Coach Tammy Weber, head coach, Coach Andrew Manini, who's our boys head coach in the spring. They collaborate in the fall. And we in my opinion, we probably have the 2 best coaches in New England. I know I'm biased. They're both graduate of Milford. They both worked with Linda Zakili. God rest her soul.
Zakili.
Yeah, the coaching tree. And I've said so many times. There are not many coaches out there that I admire, and I don't say that to be disrespectful or anything, but I can tell you this: when Linda walked in the door and I met her, I instantly was a fan. I just loved the way she did things. She competed. She was ferocious, but she was kind, and both of them have that in them. And I know they would tell you they learned it from her. And we're just lucky to have them. And the girls did a really nice job this year, made the playoffs, and you know what? That's all you can ask for, right? Have a really good record and get into the playoffs, and that's a good place to be.
Yeah, and the fact they're keeping their grades up on top of it.
Yes. Yep. Everybody stayed, academically eligible, and then you know what? You jump to our cheer team, very similar to the boys soccer team. and years of championships. They
Go
won.
Heather.
Yeah, Coach Heather, just, I mean, you want to talk about consummate professional, right? She texts or calls me multiple times every day, every day. I get Sundays are a little quiet, right? And I love her to death. I'm not saying that she could be watching this right when it rolls out. Love her to death. I love the way she coaches. I love her expectations. I love the discipline in her program. South Section champions, state champions at Worcester State. I was so excited to drive up there that day. I had to miss the Hall of Fame this year, which Principal Otland was there in my place for me, but I was up supporting, our team that was competing. And I got to tell you, I promise you, I've become a really intelligent observer of cheer in the last 10 years. And I knew when they finished their routine, there was still half a dozen teams. I followed them outside and I said, ladies, it's over. It's
You got
over.
it.
You just won it. You 10 out of 10. And, everybody cheered. And I don't know if they believed me, but, 6 teams later, they were state champions and they're going to nationals this year. And yeah, they just, again, practice hard to win easy. You go up to those practices and there's no funny business, man. There's no nonsense. It's all business.
We still laugh when we used to, this was before high school, when Coach Heather would have us turning the lights on the Pheno Field Annex.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So they could practice, right?
Yeah, because it was getting dark in the fall. Yep. So we'd have all the cars lined up and she'd look at us and say, can we have some lights, please? Wow. There wasn't a doubt that it's getting dark. It's time to stop.
Nope. So practice isn't done. I love that. We need more people. Like most of our coaches, head coaches are that way. Like sometimes I got to go out to practice a little after the 2-hour mark, 2:15, and say, hey, everybody, checking the watch here. Practice ended 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. Yeah, but we didn't get this set right.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but parents are waiting in the parking lot, and we're going to have a riot here if you don't get going. So, you love that, though. That's what you want. You want people to
it was amazing because I always laughed and said, if I ever did with my soccer coaching what Heather did in cheerleading, I'd get
linked. Yeah, you'd be in big trouble, right?
It was just given that we were there almost every night. And if it got dark a little early, okay, the parents went in their cars, turned the lights on. After a while, we just automatically did it, but nobody was griping.
No, it's unbelievable. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I arrived, Coach Pellegrini was the baseball head coach, right? When we become really good. I hope he would say the same thing. We become really good friends. I trust his, his feedback and his acumen as a parent, as a player, as a coach. So the first season, he tells me they're going to practice like Sunday morning on Mother's Day, right? They got a game on Monday. Now, I got to tell you, I'm a guy who would practice 7 days a week if they would let you. And, we might have had a couple of optional practices on Sundays, wink, wink, when I was the head coach, blah, 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 right? So, I'm looking at him and I go, hey, Pelly, I know this is a sports town. I said, but listen, I've known some really ravenous sports moms. I don't think this is a great idea. He looks at me, doesn't even breathe. He looks at me, goes, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Right. So I go, okay, any phone calls I get, I'm going to defer to you. And then I'll take them with really. And guess what? Not one phone call, not one call. And there have been multiple practices on Father's Day, on Mother's Day, you name a holiday. You know what? This town gets it. And that's why I love being here, because this town understands what it takes to be successful. And that's a good life skill. Sometimes you got to work overtime. Sometimes you got to work hard. Sometimes you got to stay late. Sometimes you got to get there early, right? And
that was the thing that was being ingrained into kids.
Yeah.
Is that, by the way, you got to go that little extra. If you want to carry the banner someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the teams that practice exactly 1.59, 1 hour, 59 minutes and then give up. It's not the teams that, well, we can practice 3 days a week, so that's all we'll do. I mean, we were there, like I say, between the all-star, all the different cheerleading functions, we were there 6 days a week.
Yes.
Not 7.
Yep. And, that's the funny thing. I do know some other programs and really not in our league, but, they don't practice on weekends. And, The first thing I say to people is, well, if we're not practicing weekends, do the math. We're practicing 5 days a week. They're six. We're losing what, 13, 14% of our conditioning and skill and strategy acquisition Now, full disclosure, JV, middle school, and freshmen, we don't press a lot on the weekends. We don't. Like if we have a game on a Monday, we do want to practice over the weekend. We do. Middle school, I work really hard to follow the philosophical middle school, which is you don't practice and play on weekends. It's Monday through Friday, and I struggle because of my competitiveness. But people will tell you, I hope, that in the 8 or 9 years that we've resurrected the middle school programs, we don't practice. We do go to a Saturday cross country meet. We go to a Saturday, but those are state championships, track and field. We don't do the other sports on weekends because that's just what we believe. We try not to do that. But you're right. Like I tell people, like I tell my own kids, like, hey, Dad, you're sick. Why don't you stop work? Well, it's sick. I got a presentation tomorrow. My boss, and maybe they would accept it, but here's the deal. I got to be ready to compete tomorrow. I got to go. I got a presentation. I have this meeting. I got to be ready. So and that's a life skill. And the same thing with practice. If you're not out there working hard, somebody else is, right? You've lived it. That's how you do it.
But I think you get it. I mean, we've got a family living with us right now, and I'm amazed because Kat is a long cross country runner.
Yeah. Yep.
And how much time she puts in. Every time I go downstairs, there she is studying. It's just these kids get it that if they want to be successful, the indoctrination has worked. Nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to hand it to you.
No, and everybody's so competitive in the 21st century that if you're not working hard, people are going to pass you academically, athletically, life skill wise, whether that. And I try to tell the kid, this is my big point with the kids. My big sort of foundation is that everything we do prepares you for the real world. We're not really in the real world yet. There's a lot of rules to what we do. And, pick a sport, there's, hundreds of rules and whatnot. But when you get into the real world, most of the jobs that you're going to be going for are you either produce or you don't, and how do you produce? You practice hard to win easy. That's it. Like you got to work hard, right? And if we teach our student athletes anything, I hope that's what they walk away with it is if you want to be outstanding at something, you got to work hard. You got to work hard. You got to outwork everybody. You got to out hustle everybody, and you got to outthink everybody. And it's okay to take breaks. We believe in that. It's okay to have a little downtime. You got to rest sometimes, but when it's time to go to work, it's time to go to work.
Well, it's hard, but you get up in the real world. And how many times I've taught my sales staff or people I'm training, you can put in 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's what the minimum is.
Yes.
And you'll have an average performance.
Yep.
Personally, everybody who works for me knows my definition of average stinks.
I agree with you.
I'm not going to invest time into people who average is good enough. Because there's too many people that want more and are willing to put in the time to be excellent, not just average.
No, good point. And that's one of the slides that I have in my seasonal presentations. Milford is not mediocre. It's easy to be mediocre, right? It's easy to be average. Get up, punch the clock, do your 8 hours, but it's the folks that work hard during those 8 hours. And if you don't get what you need to get done, or it needs to be done better, and you got to go a little bit harder, you got to work a little bit more, then you know what? The folks that are prepared to do that are going to win the accounts. They're going to win the jobs. They're going to be more employable. Their skill set's going to be better, and they're just going to be more viable.
Well, I'm glad there's people and kids who are happy to be average that are on the other teams.
Yeah. Thank you. I agree with you. We need more of those, right?
Yeah. I mean, great. You want to be average? Be average. That makes us look that much better.
Absolutely. We'll
now what other sports you want to talk about for the fall?
Yeah, so so we had golf was a real nice mix. We had veterans, we had a lot of freshmen suiting up. We're really freshmen and sophomore. We're very excited about that team for the future. Coach Potty is a golf expert and sort of aficionado. He loves golf, lives golf. I'm excited about what they're going to be doing in the future. Our cross country teams, they compete.
Well, don't run away from golf yet.
Yeah, sure.
How many kids do you have in golf?
He will typically field about 10 to 12 kids on the varsity team. And I'm glad you asked that, because here's a really little known fact. We are one of the when I say few, I'm going to say less than 10% in the entire state, single digits, that have a practice squad or a JV team. And we do that because why? I know that you know the answer, but I'm saying it rhetorically, because Milford cares about their kids. We have enough kids to support a JV team and a practice squad every year. And we think it's important that if kids want to play golf and learn golf, that we teach them and we prepare them for, the varsity team. And for me, as a former, wellness teacher, I think golf is one of the best sports out there, because when I was teaching, the wellness classes, I would say, listen, tennis and golf are two of the best sports you can. Well, I'm a football player, coach. I'm a cross. I know that, but a lot of business deals are cut on the golf course and on the tennis courts. So you got to learn how to score. You got to be an intelligent observer, right? You got to know the rules. You got to know the etiquette, and you got to be somewhat viable as a player, and if not, fake it till you make it. But you're going to win some business deals just by going out to the golf course or the tennis courts. So we're committed to that.
There's opportunities. My darling bride is involved in all these celebrity sponsorships where her companies would sponsor a tournament, and she got out and played with different celebrities, and she got to meet a lot of athletes and other people that are very successful in their life.
It's fun. It's fun. It's a great, it's one of those lifetime sports that I think if you don't play it in middle school or high school, it's like running. Eventually you will become a golfer, and eventually you'll become a runner, right? Most people do. I can't tell you how many kids that when I was teaching high school, we're talking 20, 25 years later, that will email or text and say, hey, coach, you were right. I'm running 5Ks now. I wish I had run for you in high school. Yeah, me too. Right. I wish you had played for me back then. But, so many people get into those lifetime sports, and golf is probably the top one of them.
Well, you start thinking about it's a sport. A couple of years ago, I had to finally give up playing hockey.
Yeah.
Knees just wouldn't take it.
Yep. That's a brutal sport on the body.
Especially when you're playing with younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
And kids, they think they're immortal because they just about are.
Yes.
But, running up against 20-year-olds and all, your body just can't take it.
Yeah, not recommended. I would consider myself a little too old for that.
Well, I'm missing 2 ACLs because of it.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
I played for 3 years with no ACLs, and eventually it gets to you.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And it's, what? Not only is it painful, I got a couple of old injuries here and there too. It's not conducive to growing older. Not old, but growing older, right? To have some of these banged up injuries where you don't really want to go and get surgery and repair them, because you don't really have to, but it just hurts after a while. I know that. I've got a shoulder and a knee myself that, it's just but I wouldn't trade it.
A lot of it too is ego. When you got these 20-year-olds,
yeah,
and by the third period, somehow they've jacked the ice, because I'm skating uphill and they're skating downhill at me.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Like golf, it's not going to bite you as quickly or as hard.
No, you're right. You can play golf for quite some time, and it's awful nice to jump into those golf carts and not have to walk around, right? Walk 18 holes. I can tell you that.
Well, but the high school kids should be carrying bags.
They do. They're not allowed on golf carts. This is true. But at my age, on the other side of 50, I very much prefer the 4 wheels to the 2 wheels.
So now cross country.
Yeah. We were fortunate. Very competitive teams. We're young for the boys and girls. We got some good up and coming kids, but we were also really lucky to have James Comiskey on the boys' side and Sidney Canleal on the girls' side. Both all-stars in the league. 2 of the best runners in the league, 2 of the best runners in the state. And for me, having been a cross-country runner in high school and college and coached for a long time, and fortunate enough to win championships as an athlete and then as a coach in this league, I'm the commissioner of cross-country for the Hockomock League. So for me, wow. But it's really fun. I guess the moral of the story is I love, on that day when we have 12 teams over there in Rentham, it's just especially rewarding for me to give the awards out and then have a Milford kid come up and you take a little more time announcing their name, mentioning their time, maybe talking a little bit about them and just giving them a big hug and saying, hey, congrats. Cause it's just especially rewarding for me, being the Milford athletic director, but having a cross country background and just having year after year, having Milford kids compete at a high level. It's just fun. It's fun, but the coaches work hard and we're looking for bigger and better things in the next couple of years for sure.
Now, how does cross country actually work?
Cross country is really, really weird, if you want the truth, right? People will read the scores in the newspaper and they'll say, wow, you had the higher score. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the lower score. So the first 5 people that cross the line count, right? Whatever place you get are the points that you get. So if you're first, like someone like James and Sydney don't lose much. So if they get first place, they get 1 point, right? After that, your top 5 score. Your 6th and 7th can then displace anybody in the top 5. And then after that, everybody that just comes in, they're just running for time. Okay. Which is important too. Okay. So you take the top 5 score and whoever has the lower score wins. If there's a tie, then it goes to your 6th place runner and they're the tiebreaker. So it's I got to tell you, to be truthful, when you go to these cross country meets, some of the cross country coaches don't know how to score them. It's extravagant. It's really difficult. And it takes a little bit of practice and know-how, but Dan Gordon knows. He's an expert. He ran at Stonehill. He ran in high school, but it's unless you clobber the other team, you're biting your nails waiting to see who won. If it's close and this team got first, the other team got second, they got third, we got fourth. It's a little bit of a stressful time the last, waiting 10 minutes after a meet to figure out who won.
Sounds like when I used to go to my daughter's field hockey games.
Yes.
I played hockey my whole life and I still can't figure out the whistles and the stand backs and
unbelievable. So that segue. So first of all, our field hockey girls, awesome gals. Similar situation, didn't win a whole lot of games this year. They won the non-league games and stuff like that, but just a tremendous group of young ladies, fun to watch, competitive. They're not a low-performing team. We just were in a high-functioning league this year where 10 or 11 teams in this league were high level in their division, and we were above average, and that's not a bad place to be. But Coach Dowd does a great job. Coach Rosemary does a great job. I will tell you this, 10 years in the business and 19 before this as a head coach and someone who would supervise games and whatnot. I will watch a game. There might be 50 whistles a game.
Yeah.
I can't, I don't know what 47 of them were. Right. And I don't say that to be fun. Like, I don't know the rules of field hockey and I've studied and it's difficult. It's a great game. It's very athletic. The girls have to be very athletic and skilled to play. But I can promise you this, I pride myself, like, if the baseball umps didn't show up, I could referee just about any game. I couldn't be the head football. I couldn't be the white hat, but I could help. I could be out there and work certain zones. Field hockey, nope, cancel the game. I can't ref it. I wouldn't be able to ref it. It's that complicated. I'm just being honest.
I used to laugh and say, if they can understand the game, they should get a varsity letter.
Agreed.
Just for learning the rules.
Yeah, and what's awesome is all of our girls, year in and year out, know the rules. Whistle blows, and they'll start moving in the correct direction of where they're supposed to be. Right, whether it's offensive or defensive, whether it's a corner, whether it's a penalty, they all know, and I give them so much credit because I have looked at the rule book multiple times, and I'm getting better. But I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to referee a game. I'd have to say, listen, we got to wait, or we got to postpone the game because you do not want me refereeing this game.
Well, at first I thought it was a plot by the Zebras.
Yeah.
But if they made it confusing enough, you could never argue a call.
Exactly. I promise you this. So if you
every once in a while you had a mother who played field hockey.
Yes.
Yelled that a call was wrong. and all we could do is stand and say, yeah, she must be right.
Yeah, just cheer it on, because I got to be honest with you. So we are very, very fortunate to be able to play all of our home games at the Woodland Turf, right? So we're talking what, 8 or 9 years now. Oh boy, that's probably 90 to 100 games. I don't know if I've heard anybody complain maybe half a dozen games. I'm serious. The whistle blows and parents are just like, if it's for us, it's a clap. If it's against us, it's quiet. People just kind of leave it alone. They just do, you know.
I always tried to find somebody who knew the game, get next to them, and see if I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
learn
yeah.
through osmosis.
Yes. You know who I usually watch the game with? Coach Candini, Jack Candini, because he knows the game. He's coached it, and he'll say, okay, well, that was because of this. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that, but it didn't look like an infraction to me. He's like, well, yeah, it was. Okay. All right. I believe you.
It's funny because Jack used to be the goalie that I first started trying to shoot on.
Oh my gosh. Right. In hockey, right? Ice hockey.
In hockey.
Yep.
Because our ultimate was to get a goal by him.
Yes.
He was a goddamn Gumby. He would just bounce around and stop everything.
Great athlete, great
one
coach.
goal behind him. It didn't matter if, it was all pickups. So it didn't matter if you won or lost. You got one.
Yeah. Yep. I hope he's watching this. I hope he gets to see this.
I don't know. Those were the days where we were too young to drive. So like Artie Russo would pick us up, Jay Emmett, Jack. Of course, it was still Mr. Candini at that point.
Yes, of course.
It's just the strangest feeling in the world because it's Mr. Candini, but you're playing hockey with him.
Yeah. It's funny how some of the coaches and teachers end up just being a couple years older. But then, listen, once you get on the other side of 25, 27, nobody cares how old you are anymore, right? Everybody's an adult. It's weird. It's weird, though, in this business.
So did we miss any of the fall sports?
Good point. The only one I would probably mention that we didn't talk was unified basketball, right? And I always say if somebody leaves a unified game unhappy or disgruntled, something's wrong. Because for me, I love all the sports, right? You can see me. I'm probably the most energetic athletic director on the side. I cheer. I'm yelling, I'm clapping. But at the unified basketball, I love it. I can honestly say this, and you're competitive, I'm competitive. It's one of the only times where you really and truly don't care who wins, right? You want the kids to have a good experience. All the kids get in, they all play, they're all happy, they're all excited, they're all energetic, and they cheer for each other, they high-five each other in the middle of the game. And it's just Coach Zenas does a great job. Coach Pinto's his assistant, and all the kids are phenomenal. We're so thankful for the union, right, of our unified, because I think every single kid that plays unified walks away a better person. I just do. They teach each other,
Joe really got it.
Yes.
I mean, he still really gets it. We went to a lot of unified games, and thank you for bringing it up because I have somebody in my family who would not be pleased if we.
Yeah, you'd get in trouble. You'd get in big trouble, I think.
But you looked at the way Joe played. Compared, every once in a while, you'd get a team from closer to Boston, and I won't mention a specific, where you notice that 3 or 4 kids never got in.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what this is about.
Yeah, it's not about that. It's about inclusion. It's about everybody participating. He does a great job with it. He really does. He gets it. I'm glad you brought that up. He understands what the foundational philosophies and expectations are of a unified team. And he still competes, though.
Oh, yeah.
He still competes, but he does it in a really, really authentic and positive way.
It was always the funny thing when we went to Special Olympics and people were talking about how medals don't matter. I said, they don't to the parents.
Yes. Yeah.
These kids know.
Yeah, they want to play. They want. No, that's a good point. Everybody's working hard to win. I agree with that. But I think when the final whistle goes off, everybody's so happy. Yeah. You can't tell who won or lost. And I think I just really like that because kids are genuinely supporting kids, and it's very, very powerful. It really is. You're probably at more games than I am. You know, and it's such a great feeling.
But
It's
the funniest part was I was always blessed. I didn't coach any serious teams. It was Milford teams, the Bays League and the Maple League.
yeah, yeah,
But I was blessed by having incredibly supportive parents. I never thought it could get better till I was asked to do Special Olympics. I've never met a group of kids or parents that were so supportive. If a kid wasn't doing what you asked them to do, it was because they didn't understand.
yes, right, right.
It wasn't that they were fighting you or just in a bad mood.
Yeah, disagreeing or didn't agree with the whatever the drill or what you were asking them to do. No, you're right. That's a good point.
And,
They
and the
all
families
100%.
were incredible because it was hard to explain to the special needs parents and all that I'm getting more out of this than the kids are.
Yeah. Yep.
The love that these kids give you, the appreciation, just pumps you up so much.
It's just so genuine. You know what I mean? They genuinely appreciate what you're doing, how you're doing it, and your time and effort. And it's just, yeah. You know what I'd recommend everybody's watching? Come to a unified game. That's really what I would say. If you haven't seen one, get on our website, email me, check in, text, whatever. Get to a unified game and just come have fun. We don't charge. We try not to charge for as many games as possible in all sports. Come to a unified basketball game. Come to a unified track and field meet. Come to a unified bocce competition. Come see us. Unified strength and conditioning. We were the first school in Massachusetts. We started that up over the COVID pandemic because we said, okay, our unified kids are not getting what they need. What can we do? Right. And we said, you know what? We can get into the weight room. We can get into the fitness center. We can do it. And then 6 or 7 teams jumped on board. And all of a sudden, you know what? You're competing. Who can bench press this? Who can do that? But Milford was the first unified strength and conditioning team in Massachusetts. And we're doing it this year. But come and see us. Come and see us. I really recommend that.
And we're coming to the end. I look forward to hearing in 3-4 months about the next round of teams and how well they did. But as always, I'll really look forward to hearing how many kids got into schools on athletic scholarships or how many kids just made it to schools because of the discipline, the ethics, and everything that you and your coaches have taught them. So thank you, and I'll talk to you in a few months.
Thanks, Al. Thanks, everybody.
And to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless. May tomorrow be a better day than tonight. Thanks for joining. Go Hawks.
Not too long since I've been home.